Broncos acquire Coach Sean Payton, Matthew.
Yeah.
They give up a fair bit, first and second round pick. Now, I'm not sure if I was Sean Payton, it would have been my first choice to go into the division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. At the same time, there's a lot of talent on the Broncos team. And I think I'm buying Russell Wilson's stock. I think he showed something towards the end of the season. And I think the Broncos, I think they'll be an above 500 team next year.
I buy all those things. And the other thing is like figure out where else is Sean Payton going? Like, I mean, because I hear what you're saying. Wow, do you really want to go compete against the Chiefs and the Chargers for the next decade? But when you think about the available jobs, right, you need a quarterback. So here's what Sean Payton has in Denver when he goes there, right? So he's sitting here looking. First off, he has owners that are willing to spend money. I mean, it is the Walmart heirs. They put $100,000 into a new to resod the entire stadium with 1 week left in the stadium, just 1 week left in the season because they felt like it wasn't up to snuff, even though they could have gotten away with it. Like so, he has an ownership group that wants to win and is willing to clearly spend money. That's a positive, right? It's a good defense, so he's got a good defense. That's a positive. He's got playmakers on the offense. So you assume Javonte Williams comes back healthy. You've got Jerry Jeudy. You've got Cortland Sutton. You've got Greg Dulcich, and Albert Quibonam, right? I mean, you've got some playmakers on offense. And in theory, you have a quarterback. Yes, Russell Wilson had a brutal year last year. But that's the big thing. And Sean Payton's forgotten more about football than I'll ever know. And I'm assuming that he looked at the tape and saw some of the same things that we're talking about, where you saw flashes of it. Yeah. You didn't see, he wasn't, prime Super Bowl winning Russell Wilson, but he was.
He didn't have the inevitability that Tom Brady had, and that Russell Wilson had for a time.
But right, correct. But he had some usable, you're like, I think you could look at that and say hey, with the right coaching and a right atmosphere, we can win with Russell Wilson.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, obviously going from Nathaniel Hackett to Sean Payton is just a little bit of an upgrade, right? This is what, I would say to fans. Like you said, they'll be an above 500 team. I agree, right? But just when they got Russell Wilson, right, we felt like this team could be competing for the AFC, right? I just want, we should all temper the expectations. Like, they'll be battling for second in that division with the Chargers. Like, they'll be a much better team. They'll be more competitive in all of those things. But record-wise and playoff record-wise and losing season records-wise, he's not far off of Mike McCarthy, right? He's not that far off of Mike McCarthy. Both got one Super Bowl win, playoff appearances, 11 from McCarthy. It's great. 9 for Sean Payton. So it's good.
Right.
It's not just some slam dunk like, hey, we going straight to the divisional round championship. I'm sorry to compare him to Mike McCarthy, but numbers is them numbers.
No, listen. I think what's great, Lawrence, is you have decided to go out in a blaze of glory. This is Lawrence's last appearance.
The retirement video is going to get re-uploaded.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So it's been a good run for you. It's been a really good run. We appreciate all your contributions, and we wish you well in the future.
Wow.
Lawrence,
Love Island, Mike McCarthy.
Right,
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right, well, let's...
No, but honestly, seriously, the fact of the matter is that I hear you on the fact, yes, he only has one Super Bowl, but certainly much more competitive than Mike McCarthy in Sean Payton's career coaching the Saints, right? He had, he coached for 15 years. Breeze was the starting quarterback for 14 of them, but his offense led the NFL in yards 6 different times. They were top 10 in 13 of the 15 seasons. They top 3 in points 6 different times. He was top 10 in points 12 of 15 seasons. McCarthy does not have that kind of resume in terms of generating an offense, right? He doesn't. I mean, so you can sit there and say, ultimately, when it comes down to wins and losses, that I guess the goal is ultimately a Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't have an argument for the fact they only each of them only have one Super Bowl, but I just felt like, maybe this is unfair to McCarthy, but I always felt like his Packers teams and clearly his Cowboys teams have always underperformed, and I've never felt that with Sean Payton.
I think
Sean Payton had basically one guy.
I think the difference
he had Drew Brees and Michael Thomas.
With Payton, you could see the scheme. Every single play, you could see the scheme, what was going on. With Green Bay and Mike McCarthy, you could see Aaron Rodgers in a Superman cape. That's all I could see. I didn't see the scheme with Aaron Rodgers ever. It was just Aaron Rodgers doing
Aaron Rodgers,
cool
go bail us out.
Yeah, exactly.
Go make something happen.
Let's stay in the division, though.
At
Let's
any
talk
rate,
about the Chargers.
I just don't know that. Pretend Sean Payton gets offered every single job in the NFL that's open right now. What's a better job?
I guess the thing is that there are so many quarterbacks who are pretty good, who are available, that maybe going to Carolina doesn't look as bad, because if you can get Rodgers or Carr or Jimmy G and have that be your guy. But I agree that the Broncos are the highest win total.
The Cardinals, with Kyler. Could you go fix Kyler? That'd be one. I could see you arguing that, but they don't have the defense, and that's a tough division too.
Yep. Speaking of that division, Chargers officially hire Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator from Lawrence Jackson's Mike McCarthy-led Dallas Cowboys. And, I think this is a home run relative to Joe Lombardi, who seemed to have a 0% approval rating and didn't go down in a blaze of glory against Jacksonville. Lawrence, what do you think of the Kellen Moore hire?
I mean, anything different is good. Again, I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. You said slam dunk. I say it'll be better. It should be better. The numbers went down for Justin Herbert, but they were able to get into the playoffs this year. So that, you always substitute that. You see the numbers there. The touchdowns went way down in 2022 from 38 to 25 here, but they missed the playoffs. It was a different Chargers team, always coming from behind. That's why you see Herbert went from quarterback 2 in fantasy to only the quarterback 15, but they were able to win a lot of tight games. Upgrade here. I think Kellen Moore kind of got scapegoated like many offensive coordinators in the league, so it's going to be solid. But, I could see by June, July, we're going to be talking about Justin Herbert as a potential MVP candidate. I won't be talking about that, but it will be getting talked about.
Well, because you won't have a show. You'll be talking to it, but it'll be your house,
is going to be
to your
tweeting.
Kids.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a Mike McCarthy.
Yeah. So I actually agree with Lawrence on this part, which, I think Joe Lombardi was scapegoated. I think Kellen Moore was scapegoated. I think both guys were scapegoated. I think the anti-Joe Lombardi arguments are all arguments you can make against Brandon Staley. The fact is that, or even Justin Herbert, who had, how much of Justin Herbert's regression this year was due to poor play calling by Joe Lombardi, and how much it was due to the fact that their offensive line got beat up. He didn't have Keenan Allen for a long time, and then when he finally got Keenan Allen back, Mike Williams goes down. Right? He didn't have all those guys. He didn't have a full complement of offensive weapons here. It sounds insane to say this, but they lose Jalen Guyton in the preseason, and you're like, Jalen Guyton, who cares? And the fact is, though, but Jalen Guyton was like their deep threat, and they could use him to stretch defenses. And even though Jalen Guyton only probably ran 5 or 6 go routes a game, that was enough to open things up, and they didn't really have a true deep threat on that team. A little bit of Josh Palmer
as well. Rashawn Slater, their best offensive lineman, goes down for the year effectively.
I don't know. It just felt like Joe Lombardi, I think, got scapegoated a little bit. I do think Kellen Moore, I thought that was a moronic move by the Dallas Cowboys as a Commanders fan. I was thrilled by it. I love the fact that Mike McCarthy is going to coach plays. We'll have all preseason to talk about this and everything like that. But if you look at Mike McCarthy's numbers prior to getting Aaron Rodgers, even in the 2 years, his last 2 years in Green Bay, Mike McCarthy was bottom 12 in the NFL in terms of points scored and everything like that. I think it's very telling that as soon as Mike McCarthy left, Aaron Rodgers won back-to-back MVPs.
Right. People were starting to think that Aaron Rodgers was washed.
Right.
He would throw for 26 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, which is good, by the way. They're like, nah, he's done.
Meanwhile, Kellen Moore, for the Cowboys, top 6 in points scored 3 of the 4 seasons. He called the plays, led the league in yards 2 of his 4 seasons, top 8 in passing yards in 3 or 4 years, top 10 in rushing yards in 3 or 4 years. I don't know why he doesn't get any credit for developing Tony Pollard. Obviously that happened under his watch. Dalton Schultz became a thing under his watch. Michael Gallup, his development happened under his watch. CeeDee Lamb moving from a complimentary receiver to Amari Cooper to a number 1 that he was this year under his watch. I don't know. Listen, I'm a Commanders fan. I can't stand the Cowboys. I think Kellen Moore is pretty good. I think this is a home run hire for the Los Angeles Chargers and a dumb move by the Cowboys. And as a Commanders fan, I'm thrilled about it.
Okay, well, I think another home run move is the Houston Texans hiring 49ers defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans as their head coach. 6-year deal, which is good because he might need 6 years, Matthew. To
well, he needed it.
Hopefully, he get more than one.
Yeah, exactly. The last two coaches only got one. Yeah. They're like, hey, we'd like to hire you. Is it a 1-year deal? Nah. No, it's a one with an option. I'm going to need more than that. 4? I'm going to need more than that. I don't trust you guys. Right. So if you get rid of me after 1 year, at least you got to pay me out for 5 more. So good for DeMeco Ryans, who is, by all accounts, like an unbelievably great guy, great in the locker room. Obviously, the numbers speak for himself in terms of the defense that he had with San Francisco. But, talking to people that know him around the league, just like this is a guy that you knew was going to be a head coach one day. Like just the way he carries himself, his organization, the way he sees the game. So this is a really good move for the Houston Texans.
Yep, and he was the hottest candidate outside of Sean Payton. He was going to have his pick for pretty much any job.
Well, and by the way, I loved this. Did you see that? There was like dueling reports because Schefter was like the Broncos were all in on Sean Payton. They never wavered. Whereas Ian Rappaport of NFL Network was like, oh no, they were trying to get Ryans. And Sean Payton was their second choice. They tried very hard to get Ryan. So we'll see how that plays out. So very different reports.
A+ subtweeting there. Let's talk about the Chicago Bears. Reports coming out that they are trying to trade the number 1 overall pick, shock horror, of the 2023 NFL Draft. We take a look at the betting odds now for who will be taken first overall. Bryce Young has been the favorite for a while now. He's -120. CJ Stroud +250. And both of those you would expect would be predicated on the Bears trading that pick. And then you've got Jalen Carter 5-1, Will Anderson 5-1, Will Levis and Miles Murphy bringing up the rear.
It's really interesting on Bryce Young, just because I wonder if, as we go through the combine, you remember with Kyler Murray, there was a lot of like hand size talk and how tall is he really? Like Bryce Young's not a big guy. Like I've met Bryce Young and I've taken a picture next to him, and I'm taller than Bryce Young. No. I'm taller and thicker than Bryce Young. I felt like, I swear, like again, and I'm a fat dude, but like,
you're not.
I'm just saying, like, whatever. I'm 6 foot. I'm 6 foot, and
that's what they list him. Well, 5'11", 6 foot. They list him.
I'll show you guys a pic. I have a picture somewhere that we took together. I'm not towering over him, but he's not like. I mean, at best we're the same height. He might be slightly shorter than me, and And so my point is, there's no question about the kid's talent. Like, he was unbelievable at Alabama. I'm just wondering if, you saw this with Kyler Murray. You've seen this over the years with a couple of different quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett in the hand size and the whole thing, and Kyler Murray in terms of his height. Russell Wilson got knocked down to the 3rd round because of his height. I just wonder if it's interesting that he's the betting favorite right now, because I could see once we get to the combine, you start getting some measurements that there could be some negative talk.
What I would say to that is that Kyler Murray ended up going number 1, despite all of that. I think that
and has proven himself.
Yes,
and has proven himself as a franchise quarterback in the NFL. Obviously, same as Russell Wilson.
A lot of entertainment. We got a long off season ahead of. Remember, Devontae Smith used to be too skinny. Right. He ain't too skinny no more, even though he probably gained 2 pounds since then. But that being said, Bryce Young being the betting favorite could have had something to do with why DeMeco run. Everybody like, why would you want to go coach the Texans? Well, you get your quarterback, you get a fresh start. This is where you used to play. Like, you really get to start from the ground up. So, and if Bryce Young is there, why not?
Yep, I'm with you there. And I would be shocked if the Bears didn't trade the pick, just because they have their quarterback and there are so many teams that need a quarterback.
I've seen some people suggest that the Bears should get rid of Justin Fields and trade Justin Fields, which is the most insane thing in the world.
Maybe if it was Andrew Luck in the draft or Peyton Manning or something, it's like it's not. These guys are projected to be clearly better than Justin Fields.
Justin Fields probably would be the top quarterback prospect in this draft, and that's why we're, but as soon as the Texans lost that Week 18 game, folks just went, the Bears want to trade him. Like, did you not see this kid? Just try to do for him what they did for Trevor Lawrence, and in that division now with Aaron Rodgers possibly gone, like you could be seeing the Bears as that next team in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, there was a learning curve for Justin Fields, but once it clicked on, you were like, oh man, I mean, like he's obviously going to be a top pick in fantasy, but Justin, how many times this year did we say that Justin Fields can play?
Yep.
The kid can flat out play football. Anyway, but the Bryce Young, the hot takes, everything like that. Those are the kind of things you'll see from Lawrence's couch.
I'm going to find my way always on this show.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm looking forward to the debut episode of Lawrence's Couch.
All right. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo might be on the couch for a little while he looks for a new team. 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan said he doesn't see any scenario in which Jimmy G returns to the team in 2023. And here is Kyle Shanahan talking about Trey Lance and Brock Purdy.
Are you content enough with Brock and Lance being the top two guys going into training camp, or would you be looking for a high-profile veteran?
No, we're content enough. I know we have two starters on our team right now that I believe we can win with. So when you have that situation, you're not that eager to go looking around. The good thing about Brock is that wasn't an issue. It was a freak accident that I think everyone saw what happened. And when you talk to the doctors, it takes 3 months to really get back to repairing it and building it up the right way. And in 6 months, he'll be the same guy.
All right, here we go. If you look at Jimmy G's stats side by side with Brock Purdy, 7-3 for Jimmy, 7-0 for Brock Purdy. And, it makes me think that maybe I don't want to give Jimmy G a huge contract in the offseason if Mr. Irrelevant could do that in the San Francisco offense. But, Lawrence, who's going to start week 1 for the Niners?
Man, I feel like this injury just opened the door a little bit, and it's going to end up being Trey Lance. A couple shows back, you said, Matthew, if Brock Purdy gets this team to the Super Bowl, you don't have to win it, but if you get him to the Super Bowl and it's because of him, then there will be no question, and I definitely agree with that. But now, because of the injury, and Trey Lance may be a little ahead in his recovery, it just opened the door. That's not something I'm just planting a flag. Like, it's just my gut feeling for today.
Yeah. No. We will tune into future episodes of you on your couch to see where you land.
Hey, that thing gonna blow up.
On the Niners.
That show gonna blow up.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait.
We'll be rivals.
100%. It'd be exciting. It'd be like you'll have different fabric on the couch each week. I can already see like what plant will Lawrence have today next to him on the couch.
I'm gonna get Tom Brady on my show. He won't be on this one.
That's fine. That's fair. All that's very fair. I think Lawrence might be right on this one. I do think that Brock Purdy starts games for the Niners next year. But I feel like, first off, draft capital in terms of what they've invested in Trey Lance. And felt like this last year, right? I mean, we could have had this exact same discussion a year ago, Trey Lance versus Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right.
Jimmy Garoppolo led them to the playoffs. Jimmy Garoppolo has been solid for them, everything like that. And yet they were like, no, we're all in on Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that, he'd played whatever it was, like 3 games, in the past 2.5 years. They were all in on Trey Lance, and I feel like that's going to be the same thing. That I feel like draft capital, and that they made such a big bet on Trey Lance. They'll say all the right things, and it'll be a battle, and it'll be a camp battle, and everything like that. The one weird thing about it is that an offense with Trey Lance as your quarterback is very different than the Brock Purdy offense. I mean, the Brock Purdy offense is the Garoppolo offense. Like, he's a drop-back passer, you know what I mean? It's like a lot of quick screens and that kind of stuff. Whereas with Trey Lance, you want to get him on the move and take advantage of his mobility. And so it just feels weird. It just feels like they've been so successful with kind of this, stand in the pocket, solid middle-of-the-road guy,
just the guy,
quarterback. But I agree. I just think the upside of Trey Lance, they've invested so much in it. It'll be his job to lose.
Yep, I think we're going to see Trey Lance as the starter, but with a short leash as Brock Purdy heals.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Roto-World, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.